Hey, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Boy in a Tree. And today I'm going to be reading a short story that I wrote a little while ago. This is honestly one of my first. This is my first short story that I've written. And it's just me dabbling into it. I want to maybe share it on, other websites that allow you to share these short stories. I have to look into again where to share the story. But it's something I want to try and write short stories now, just because when I tend to write, I try to write like a whole book and a whole just kind of a series in my head that I'm trying to do. But I think short stories is a good way to focus in and just write a story. So this one is called Long Lost Friend, and it's inspired from one of my favorite books, Spring Snow, and one of my favorite authors, Yukio Mishima. It just inspired from the idea of reincarnation, and so that's what this little short story dabbles into, a little bit of that. And so that's the short story. And I also want to say real quick, the main character, I found this interesting afterwards when I was done writing it. I will admit that it's from first person perspective, and I will say originally I think it is a female, the female perspective. But I also realize, especially nowadays, 2022, with how gender it could. I like the idea of it could also be a guy, it really, or a they them. It could be anybody, because only little I had made it more of an exact gender before, but then I kind of erased that because I'm like, I like the idea of anybody could read this and just be from their perspective in a way. But I will admit there's kind of some flirting going on, which originally, I thought, so it's more likely a female. But anyways, I like the idea of opening it up. I like the first person perspective. I like that idea of opening up when you're telling a story, that it could be anybody, which makes it could be anybody reading, it could be you could do it from anybody's perspective. That's what I want to try and go into more when I'm writing short stories, but we'll see. I still just getting into writing short stories, but I like that idea, you know what I mean? Okay, so yeah, this is just gonna be me reading my short story. I hope you enjoy.
A long lost friend. I stood at the register, scanning some chips and cigarettes for a customer. Sweat built up on my eyebrow and slowly dripped down my cheek. I lazily brought my arm up and wiped it away, while also feeling the eyes of my customer studying me in my every move. The customer was a balding, middle-aged man who had recently begun to come into the gas station frequently. He smiled at me in a flirtatious way, which I was all too used to seeing from him, then said, "Hot in here." Simple statement, but I knew it was his way of trying to start any kind of conversation. I simply nodded, trying to be nonchalant about it, and quickly stating, "AC is having some issues," then asked, "Card or cash?" His flirty smile instantly disappeared when he realized I wasn't accepting his attempt towards me today once again. He took out his cash and handed me the exact change. "Thanks," he said, clearly annoyed, then abruptly walked towards the door to leave. He opened one of the doors, and just before he stepped out, he paused. "You've been like this for a month now. A friendly smile or something wouldn't kill you." I stared at him blankly, not even able to get myself to properly react. He whispered, "Jeez, whatever, bitch," and finally walked out. A month. He's only started stopping by this gas station for a month, so he failed to realize I've been like this for about 7 years now? Yes, exactly 7 years to the day. Wow, it has been exactly 7 years since I lost my best friend. 7 years since she left me in this world. While the grief and sadness did slowly fade with time, the feelings morphed into this fog of depression that would lighten up some days, then feel thick and heavy on others, like today. For 7 years, I learned how to travel through this fog that had developed in my mind. The doors of the gas station opened, and instantly I felt something shift in my world, which took me off guard. I couldn't put my finger on what had suddenly changed, but something about this dull gas station felt different and brighter. I glanced at who had entered and saw a mother holding the hand of a young girl, who I assumed was her daughter. They both had light brown hair that flowed behind them as they quickly walked and made their way through the gas station. For a moment before they passed, I made eye contact with the little girl, seeing her familiar light green eyes. For a moment, it was like the fog had gotten as light as it had ever been. The girl's eyes were like two green glowing lanterns guiding me towards them, but then were extinguished when her mom pulled her along and broke our stare. I felt like I was in a daze for a moment, feeling whiplash with how fast this happiness broke through my fog. A smile slipped uncontrollably on my face, and I didn't know why. I shook off the daze, grabbing a broom and started sweeping a bit while the little girl and her mom looked at the sodas. They were there for a few moments, then came over carrying 2 bottles of 2-liter Sprites. "Hi, how are you two doing today?" I asked as I put the broom down and walked to the register. "Good, just had to get some extra sodas that we forgot to get earlier. We have a big birthday party at the park today," the mom said, looking at the little girl who smiled brightly back up at her. "I'm turning 7 today," she said excitedly, throwing up 7 fingers into the air. The fog had completely disappeared as soon as her crooked smile formed. Not only were the eyes a match, but she had the same crooked smile as my friend once did. For a moment, it had brought me back to high school all those years ago when we first met, and when she had smiled at me with that same broken smile. I felt like my young self once again. It had been too long since I even felt like that version of myself. I realized my mind was wandering, so I had to force myself back into the present. The little girl looked at me, and I used to not understand what people meant when they said someone had a glint in their eye, since I never truly seen it. But now I completely understood. This little girl's eyes didn't just contain excitement of youth, but seemed to hold knowledge beyond her years. She seemed to hesitate and stared at me intently with that knowing glare. "Do I know you?" she asked, making me and the mom both pause in confusion. I opened my mouth to say something, but couldn't form any words. There was no possible way this was real. Magic didn't exist in this world, especially not ever since my friend had left all those years ago. Yet here was this little girl giving off the same presence as my best friend, like she was standing right in front of me. "No, you don't, honey," the mom finally said when she realized I wasn't going to say anything after too long of a moment of hesitation. I could tell the mom felt a little awkward because of the energy between me and her daughter. I shook it off and looked away from the little girl, not wanting to make this moment any more strange for the mother. "Are you paying with cash or card?" I asked as I put the sodas in the bag. "Card. Thank you." "Have a good day," I said with a smile at the mother once she was finished paying, while still feeling the little girl's green eyes on me the whole time. I ignored them and turned to pretend like I had something else to do. "Come on, baby, let's go," the mom said as she dragged her daughter away. "Mommy, I know who that is." "I don't think so, honey. Let's just get to the party." They finally left the gas station and I sighed. But I realized not out of relief. The fog had slightly begun to form and settle within my mind once again, and the gas station began to feel as dark and dreary as it had ever felt. It had been a long time since I felt the way that little girl had made me feel, and it was like I had felt a high of happiness but was now coming down from it quickly. I just stood behind the register, staring off into space, and trying to come to terms with my feelings, while surely becoming numb once again as the fog within my mind thickened. I needed to come to terms with the fact that my friend was gone. That little girl had just merely reminded me of her, nothing more. I heard muffled shouting outside the store and heard one of the doors whip open. A figure sprinted behind the register. I turned towards it in surprise and felt little arms wrap around my waist. "I miss you too," a little voice said. The fog within my mind was obliterated as I kneeled and hugged her back. I realized who was hugging me, and my thoughts of reality vanished, and I simply accepted the magic of the moment. This was a hug from a long-lost friend.
Okay, so yeah, that was Long Lost Friend. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching this all the way through. I'm gonna be trying to do this more often, where I just kind of write. I've already started working on another little short story that I'll try and share eventually soon, and I might just put it up on here again too. I like just trying to just read through them. But I'm also gonna try and reach out and put them on a website, because obviously I have it all typed out, and see about putting it out there in another person's website or whatever for short story authors. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed. Stay connected.